This current war on Gaza has been impacting 48 Palestinians or Palestinian citizens of Israel who make up 20% of the population of Israel's citizenry. And I'm going to use both of those terms, 48 Palestinians and Palestinian citizens of Israel. They've always lived with precarity, at best pushed to the margins of Israeli society and often silenced or treated as aligned with the enemy or as an actual internal enemy. And there's been a consistent denial of their being part of the fabric of society that comes even from the language used to talk about Palestinians in Israel, calling them Arab Israelis and negating their Palestinianness, or even categorizing them simply as non-Jews. 48 Palestinians have also always experienced Israeli militarism in visceral ways, and that continues today. Those in the Galilee have for decades felt the state booming on their skin and in their chests and ears as Israeli warplanes fly over to Lebanon. They know that the state is not there to protect them, but rather these flyovers make clear 48 Palestinians' cultural, geographic, and political proximity to being the enemy. In recent weeks, those in the Galilee have watched olive groves burn and death rain down as Israel has used white phosphorus against Lebanese communities. Nevertheless, in places where my family is, in Tarshiha in the Galilee, the Palestinian village is small and steadfast, perhaps, on our green mountains, on our coastal plains, and in the Naqab. It provides a kind of a buffer against some of the violence of Israel's racialized settler colonialism. But not all 48 Palestinians enjoy this kind of a cushion. Those 48 Palestinians who are in cities like Haifa and Lid and Ramla and Jaffa watch as civil militias are formed around them with the encouragement of Itamar Ben-Gvir, the Kahanist Jewish supremacist Minister of National Security. Since October 7th, over 120,000 Israelis have applied for gun licenses, and the rules regulating who can get those guns are highly racialized against Palestinians. Palestinian citizens of Israel today are thinking back to 2021, spring of 2021, when there was a lot of street violence against Palestinians. And so these civil militias infused terror into spaces where Palestinians live in proximity with Jewish Israelis. And indeed, on Saturday, November 4th, a mob threatened 50 Palestinian students in the Netanya Academic College. They were trapped, fearing for their lives in their dorms. And Israeli police did not initially intervene as crowds outside yelled death to Arabs and go back to Gaza. There have been attacks on Palestinian journalists working inside Israel as well. One of the key crises right now is around freedom of expression. Assaults on freedom of expression are not new for Palestinian citizens of Israel, but they are intensified in a renewed and stark manner. I've heard some people talking about how it's like a return to the years of military occupation that Palestinian citizens of Israel lived under from 1948 to 1966. There's even less space for protest than in previous Israeli wars on Gaza. For example, Police Commissioner Kobai Shabtai threatened that any Palestinian protesting the war should be sent to Gaza. He said, anyone who wishes to identify with Gaza is welcome to. I'll put him on the buses that are heading there now. So again, this positions Palestinian citizens of Israel as enemies, makes any identification with Palestinians in Gaza out to be criminal. Those who nevertheless protest frequently are met with arrest. There's also been expulsion of Palestinian citizens of Israel from colleges and universities. As of October 22nd, at least 89 Palestinian students have been facing disciplinary actions for expression on social media platforms. And a lot of times this expression is just an expression of solidarity and care for Palestinians in Gaza, or using Quranic verses to think about themes of justice and right. The Palestinian human rights organization in Haifa, Adala, is following cases of more than 50 Palestinian citizens of Israel who've been fired, demoted, or suspended from their jobs across a wide variety of sectors. And there's also been, once again, this is a new wave of arrest for social media posts. One of the posts that led to an arrest was when a woman posted, "God is not unaware of what the oppressors do," a Quranic verse. So again, though Israel often uses the idea that there's an incitement to violence in these social media posts, that kind of a Quranic verse being posted is not an incitement to violence in any way that I can understand. To add to existing tensions, there's a new social media law that was passed on November 8th, a revision to Article 24 of Israel's counterterrorism law that will be in effect for 2 years now. It specifies a new offense, not just expressing things on social media, but actually consuming certain kinds of social media. So it criminalizes both the systematic and continuous consumption of publications of a terrorist organization under circumstances that indicate identification with the terrorist organization. And I'm drawing on a translation from Adala. The law targets Hamas and ISIS, and in that sense, equates those two as well. So these firings, expulsions, threats, and new laws will have long-term effect on Palestinians in Israel and also on Israeli society as a whole, as they once again demonstrate Israel's anti-democratic nature and these racialized structures of violence and exclusion that operate not only in the occupied territories, but also in Israel's 1948 territories.